Hey everyone, today I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at Survivor items, a somewhat overlooked part of Survivor gameplay. I asked you all for your ideas on new items to be added, and you came up with lots of awesome stuff that I'm going to review today. I tried to pick stuff I could reasonably see getting added to the game. Let's get into it. One of the best ideas I thought, and one I really liked, was from Cinnamovs, named the Alchemical Vial. It does nothing on its own. You equip add-ons to be able to drink the solution for effects, so it's a little like the current version of keys. It has one use and a whole bunch of add-ons. The add-ons primarily revolve around status effects and negating them or giving yourself them. I really like this concept and think it's a nice alternative to something like a medkit and key hybrid, with it being far more customizable. There's a whole bunch of different add-ons here. I think in general this could be a great replacement for keys, which are currently very useless. They listed a bunch of add-ons, but I wanted to address some of the more notable ones. Exhilarating Agent, Ultra Rare, removes exhaustion. I like this a lot, and I think a one-time usage to remove an effect would be completely fine, especially if you have to determine it before the trial. I think additional add-ons to remove things like Mangled, Hemorrhage, and Hindered would be great too. We then have the add-ons that give status effects. Hastening Mutagen, very rare, applies 5% haste effect for 20 seconds. Iron Skin Mutagen, very rare, applies endurance for 4 seconds. If hit while under the effect, afflicts broken for 60 seconds. Limits the Alchemical Vial to 1 use, regardless of add-ons. Dexterity Mutagen, rare. Increases repairing, healing, cleansing, blessing, and unlocking action speeds by 5% for 20 seconds. I like all of these, and I think they're balanced nicely too, with a variety of effects for different purposes and playstyles. I would personally bump the numbers on the Dexterity Mutagen a bit. Finally, we have the information-based and utility add-ons. See the aura of all other survivors for 20 seconds. Easy open bottle, Alchemical Vial can be drank while moving. I like the idea of being able to use items while moving, again a bit like the key. Lightfoot Mutagen increases vaulting action speed by 5% for 20 seconds. Preservatives increases the duration of effects by 25%. Catalyst increases speed at which the Alchemical Vial is drank by 20%. A few others too, I won't go into them all. I love this idea, very well thought out. I think it fits in with the DBD aesthetic very well, and I love the ideas and how they've been balanced too. Something like this would be interesting, I think, and like I mentioned before, this kind of thing feels like what keys were meant to be. These interesting, more substantial effects. ChefDemo's idea for a smoke bomb I thought was very interesting. Smoke bomb, uncommon. Single charge item and consumed on usage. When activated, you drop a smoke bomb on the ground, and smoke starts to spew out in a 24 meters circular radius. The smoke lasts for 30 seconds, and whoever goes inside suffers from the blindness status effect for 30 seconds. Smoke blurs killer vision, similar to Clown's bottles, and darkens screen for all by 40%. Pretty much my only changes to this would be a reduction to the radius, as 24 meters is a lot, maybe something more like 6 or 8 meters. I also think the distortion effect applied to killers isn't too fair, so I don't think that should be in. I love the idea of a smoke bomb though, and it allowing for cool deception plays, and cutting off sightlines from the map. I think it could create lots of interesting moments, and just be a new interesting aspect to Survivor gameplay, and a tool that encourages deception and cool chase plays. It could even be used when on a generator to mask your location, and stuff like that. Awesome idea. Jayden came up with the item named David's Blueprint. Very rare. You unlock the ability to rebuild one broken pallet. Item cannot be used on pallets in main buildings or killer shack. Item is consumed after use. This is a fairly circulated idea, in lots of different forms, the idea of rebuilding pallets. And although there were some suggestions for more complicated ideas, I think reasonably this is the most likely version of an item like this. I think this would be a cool mechanic and certainly worth an item slot, and I really don't think it would be too powerful, particularly with the stipulation of being unable to rebuild pallets within main structures and shack. I think that's a really good idea. You could still get some powerful pallets rebuilt, but there are some restrictions to it. Think stuff like cow tree. I do think this item would need a good 8 to 12 seconds usage duration to balance it a bit more though. as in that's how long it takes you to reconstruct a palette. Afterlight MC came up with an interesting idea, which I enjoyed the concept of a lot. This being the idea that you could find extremely rare, limited items within chests. This would be good, I think, as it would greatly encourage you to go and seek out chests and trials for the chance at a much rarer item, with little guarantee of actually getting it. It's a smart way to incentivize chest opening. The item they came up with was a flare gun, limited, one charge, a bright red flare gun that when fired near the killer's face, would cause the killer to be instantly blinded and stunned for 4 seconds. Can be found in chests with a 5% chance. Limited items are consumed by the entity at the trial's end. Awesome idea, and perfectly balanced in my opinion. I would love if there were these somewhat secret items you could get in, say, 1 in 10 games from searching chests routinely. It would be a cool extra thing to go for, and possibly get, and create some fun and interesting moments. Keat came up with a really unique idea that I wanted to include because I just thought it was such an interesting thing to suggest. It's a chance-based item that could both benefit but also harm you. It's a coin, rare, that you were able to flip. Use this item during the trial to flip a coin. If the coin lands on the escape symbol, see the killer's aura for 5 seconds. If it lands on the skull symbol, the killer can see your aura for 5 seconds. I personally think that's a very simple but fun idea that would be interesting to play around with. I think in a similar way to this, some kind of consumable that gave a random effect could be fun. For example, similar to the Vial idea, maybe an add-on for it that would give you a random status effect for 30 seconds. So it could give you haste, or it could give you exposed or something, just a completely random modifier. That could be lots of fun, I think. Keat also came up with a fun chase-based item idea, which is the wire trap. Uncommon, rare, very rare. This can be applied to a flat surface. If the killer walks through the wire, the trap activates, and you can see their aura for unspecified number of seconds. I think something fair would be 3, 5, 7 with the scaling rarity. I like this as it doesn't hinder them too much, and stays away from stronger things like stuns, and instead provides information. I personally think item-related trap things like this need to be solely passive, and unable to actually physically stun the killer in any way. Royal came up with an item named Dubious Pill, very rare. Press active ability button to swallow the pill after a short channeling action. Consumed on use. Pill grants 30 seconds of 5% haste, increased field of view, immunity to non-self-inflicted status effects, faster vaulting, and reduced stagger duration. Injures the survivor for 1 health state after the effect ends. This is a really interesting idea, and I like the concept of a one-use pill that you swallow and have some crazy effects happen with. I'd honestly like to suggest a buff and nerf to this, and play into the concept even more. Instead of it injuring you, I think it could be cool to essentially have the flip of this after you exit the buff state. You get a huge boost, followed by slowed speed and a plethora of negative status effects weighing you down. Maybe for around 45 seconds in comparison to the positive 30-second duration. Finally, I thought I'd discuss an idea that was discussed quite a lot, which was the concept of an item that allowed you to carry multiple items, such as a backpack. The conclusion that was come to with this though was that it would probably work better as a perk, where it would allow you to hold 2 items. I think that'd be cool. Alright, well that's gonna do it. I appreciate everyone who submitted and discussed these ideas. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, and goodbye.